I know you've probably been asked this question a million times, but what was your initial inspiration for creating Four Sigmatic and trying to get adaptogens and functional mushrooms out to the public?
The coffee inspiration was actually not the original. That came about slightly after the company was launched. The first inspiration is that I'd felt them myself, and working with pro athletes in nutrition, including a lot of runners and trail runners, like the effects I felt on cordyceps was like, why isn't anybody talking about this? And then secondly, just for selfish reasons, like I was entrepreneurial since I was young, and I wanted to start a company that was like aligned with my values. And so I saw that need. I was buying these like random superfoods and mushrooms and adaptogens from weird websites in bulk bags. And I was like, there has to be a better way to do this.
Yeah. I mean, I've been buying, it's Oravita. Have you heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been buying their, it's just like straight cordyceps capsules. Sure. I get that same experience. It's like, I don't know, I'm sure you know, is there like any better alternative? Like if you just want like a pure, because does Four Sigmatic just have a pure like cordyceps capsule?
No, we've actually never had just one single mushroom. It's partly because like I think in herbalism, there's never just one ingredient. You always have like 2 to 3 to 4 that have synergistic effects, like the main herb, the supporting herb, the balancing herb. So we've tried to use like time-worn ancient traditions of formulation. Or blends of mushrooms, like where you get like 10 mushrooms in one scoop type of thing.
Yeah.
But that's a good brand. I mean, according to a published study I think in Nature a few years ago, there was a study that 74% of reishi supplements don't contain any reishi in the US. But that brand is actually like solid. And I actually often say is like, hey, you don't need to buy from Four Sigmatic. Here's like 3 other brands you could go buy from.
Yeah. 3 out of 4.
Pretty much,
don't even contain
according to that study on the reishi supplements. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you guys, Danielle and I went pretty far down this, but the mycelium versus fruiting body, it seems like you guys are super intentional with making sure you use the fruiting body, making sure things are grown properly, not on oats or, as close to their natural habitat as possible. I'm sure from like a manufacturing side of things, that's got to be a nightmare, or at least maybe at first to get that right.
Yeah, it's a nightmare for everyone but the consumer, because like financially, it's like 5 to 10 times cheaper to buy these myceliated grains. And so finance hates that decision. Ops hates that decision. And then we have to explain, because those myceliated grain are grown in the US using Asian rice and Asian machines, probably with non-Native American employees, but they're American. But then consumers love that, versus us getting ours from like Russia or China, because you can't buy these mushrooms, especially like 1/3 of our mushrooms are wild, and you just can't buy them in the US, and nobody's selling them in the true form. So then like we have to explain that, which is harder to explain than just saying this is American made. But the thing is, like, you have like at best 2% of those active compounds in that myceliated grain. Realistically, it's probably like less than 1%.
Wow.
And so like as a consumer, you're not really getting, and according to FDA, that's not even allowed to be called a mushroom, but a lot of brands still call it a mushroom.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems like such a niche industry still, that there's,
yes,
and like unless you know, most the average person doesn't know.
That being said, like there's a lot of tainted supplements in like big categories, from pre-workouts to protein powders. So there's amino spiking in proteins. So this does happen in dietary supplements. The more there's margin, like in dietary supplements and beauty, then more people have financial incentive to lie, basically. Versus if you sell like frozen peas, there's not like a lot of margin, so nobody's really.
Yeah.
They say like, I think it's credited to Jeff Bezos, but your margin is my opportunity. But like, it's kind of true with also like new companies, is like more margin there is in any category, the more likely it's to be abused.
Damn. It seems like there's just all these hurdles constantly. I mean, any business, right? But it seems like within such a, again, stigmatized industry like mushrooms, it just seems like there's constant roadblocks everywhere. Like all these things you have to teach people.
I know you just co-founded a company. So I don't know how much you talk about it publicly or at all.
Yeah.
But like, you shouldn't start a company in CPG or supplements or write a book unless you feel like I have to do it, because like the amount of energy and effort and headaches it will cause you is stupid. But like, it needs to be like a labor of love where you like do it because you love it. Like, let's say trail running, like how many people in the world make money with trail running? I would assume not that many.
Right.
Like a handful.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple probably bigger names. What's that name? Killian.
Yeah, Killian.
Yeah.
Courtney DeWalter.
Yeah,
there's not very many.
Not many. Like you might have hundreds of thousands of followers, but you're still not probably making money with that per se. So I think in similar to like you run because you love to run, you start a company because you love it and you're excited about it. It's a total headache and and it's crazy. It's like even when you get bigger, it's still a headache. So
have you had times where you're like, is this worth it?
Oh yeah, like 1,000 times. But then like the consumer feedback and the community and the people send you like letters and emails, and then you're like, oh, it's worth it. But
how big is the company now in terms of like employees?
They're not that big. We outsource production. The contract manufacturers is the official name. We outsource a lot of our sales. It's in retail. They're called like brokers or sales reps. And so we're like, 30 something, but like not that big.
When you first started, was it just you doing everything?
There was actually a predecessor company in 2012 to 2014 called Luonto Life that was in Hong Kong. And I had two co-founders, Mikko and Mika. And then they left. And then we basically like created a new company called Fungi's in the US that like inherited that business. Four Sigmatic was technically launched in 2016, 2 years after they had left. But I inherited an awesome kind of a founding team. So it was like 6 Finnish guys that I knew that was like the founding team. And that came from the previous company, or all but one came from that previous company. Nice. Which is still like half of them are like core to what we do and half of them are doing some other stuff.
And did you guys like raise money initially, or was it like your personal investment into the business, or where did the funding come from initially?
It was bootstrapped. We technically had like our first CFO put in some of his own money, and then we had a supplier who put some money. Like we're talking like tens of thousands and not much.
Yeah.
Dang. But yeah,
that's cool.
Pretty much bootstrapped. And then like 3-4 years in, we got some seed funding, which went to inventory. And then like we've raised like one time, basically, like actually raised money.
Were you guys profitable?
Yeah, we had to be because like we had to be basically. Yeah, we had to be because like even if you're profitable, you're broke because like every time you get profits, you still like buy more inventory if you're growing. So if you're growing fast, like you're always out of money, even if you're profitable. But yeah, we had to be.
Do you remember what that first year was like? Did you have doubts of like, is this thing actually going to work?
Actually, no. The first year and a half until the 2 guys left, particularly one of them quit. And it was actually great because my view was like, I don't know if this is going to work. I just wanted to have the 2 best years of my life. And my promise to myself was less about like making the business successful, but like learning, having fun. And I did all these other things during those 2 years to make it the 2 best years of my life.
That's awesome.
So I had almost like de-risked it for myself. Like think of like you wake up and you're tired and you're like, oh, I got to run a 10-mile tempo run or something. I don't know, like go to the track. It might be a little daunting. Versus like, oh, let me just run 15, 20 minutes. And you lower the stakes. And when you lower the stakes, you're probably more likely to do it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. I have the 10-minute rule with myself.
Yeah.
I say, if I don't want to go run, okay, let's just do 10 minutes. And then 99% of the time, once you do those first 10 minutes, you're like, well, shit, I'm already out here. Might as well just do the whole thing.
Yeah. And that was kind of my approach with business as well.
Yeah. That's amazing.